everybody, Chanel here with another SewBit. Today we're going to talk about presser feet. I don't know why they call them feet or foots, but they do. Basic presser feet. You'll have a few that come with your machine and they're designed to do different things, different techniques like hemming or going over zippers, buttonholes, all kinds of things. I'll just go over the basics. Of all my years of sewing, I have literally not tried more than the basics. I kind of just know how to do the techniques. I use the iron more than anything. It kind of helps get into other stuff, but it is fun to try them. But I also find unless you do them continuously, you don't remember things. So I even like the buttonhole foot can't remember how to do it 6 months later. So now I've gotten it better at it. But my new machines, I had to keep looking at the instructions. So what are you gonna do? So the machine comes with the basic presser foot, and they pop off right here. There's a little black button on this machine that you push. You just push it, and it drops the foot. And the basic one looks like this. It's just a simple foot that, moves around. My machine came with these, but I ended up changing all my feet to this one. It's a zigzag foot. And I find that my students have an easier time because it's centered. So like the needle would be center, and then this moves kind of, it's in the center. This one's on the side. And so then the needle is actually coming down on this one side, and it just kind of trips them out a little bit. I find most of my beginner students are they just look at things very squarely, and they think everything should line up and be centered. So I think this works a little bit better, and for beginner, and I actually like it too. It's what I was used to, and a lot of times whatever you get used to is the way it works. But how you do this, you just snap these back on. Try and get my fingers out of the way here, and these will just snap on like this. So it's just the presser foot lever snaps it on. It's like a snap-on tool basically, and you just pop it off, and then you use your other foot. This one will probably be on all the time. If you do change out the feet, that means your throat plate numbers, it says like 5/8, half an inch, might be off. So you have to look at where your needle lines up here, measure over to like 5/8. That's what we usually use on fashion sewing, and make sure it's still in that 5/8 position, because mine did change. My 5/8 moved over a little bit. So we use this a lot. It's called a thread, or it's a seam guide right here. And my 5/8 on the machine is about here, but then we move the presser foot, it's moved over about, I guess about 1/8 of an inch or so, not too much. So I always know it's right by this circle. I think it's like a oil hole or something right there. It's this little circle. And how you use those is you just guide the fabric, just like right here, and you look right here while you're sewing, and it just sews along that, and then right here that will go right at the 5/8. Sometimes you don't have to mark it sometimes. My beginners, I like them to mark stuff because it helps them to gauge what 5/8 looks like. So those are the two basics. Then you have, your machine will come with a zipper foot, looks like that. They might be a little different. Some are shorter, sometimes a little different, but they have 2 bars on it. There's one here and then one here. And that means you can switch the sides that you're gonna sew it on. So if you put this on here, the zipper foot is just designed to sew next to the coils here, like that. Otherwise, your presser foot is sewing on top of those. The zipper foot is designed to go alongside it, and that would work like, let's see, if you were working, let's have to go. So you have, it depends on which angle and position you're putting your project into the machine. Sometimes you're going to sew from the bottom, sometimes the top, whatever works out that way. So this one would sew right alongside the coils here, like that. Just go like that, right around the coils there. And if you wanted to switch it around and you were going to sew it in another direction, you just move it over to the other side there. And let's say maybe you're going, now you're going to sew it from the bottom part, and then you're sewing it straight down this way. So it takes a little bit of time to get adjusted to, okay, how do you use these? But I've been teaching a lot of zippers lately and finding that people aren't really understanding how these zipper feet work. So it takes a little bit, getting used to, but that's the general gist of those. Then there is this, actually, this presser foot doesn't come with your most machines at all. It's called an invisible zipper foot, and it looks like that. The back looks like this. It has little rivets in here, and this is an invisible zipper. So notice the difference between the two there. This one has the coils on the out, and this one you don't see them. The coils are on the back, and then when you sew it, you're actually supposed to sew into that stitch right here, and that's where the grooves of this fit in here. That is a whole nother class. So I'll teach you how to do that one, but that's what, if you're going to ever use invisible zippers, these really help. I have put them in without them, but these help a lot. So those are the zipper feet. Then your machine probably also comes with this little thing. I tried it once. They're for sewing on buttons. I can't even remember how I did it, but it just keeps it, I guess, everything still, and you just go do do do, sew on the button. Easy to break your needle. And I just put buttons on my hand so you can add a little thread shank to it, and so it's not flat against the fabric, and then you can't even use the buttonhole to get it in there. Then we have the buttonholer foot makes the buttonhole, and this actually measures your button size, which is so great. In the olden days we had to like measure out the buttons, but you put this in position to how big your button is, and then it will, you just keep it there and it will guide it there. So that goes in the back, and then this goes in here, snaps on like that, and then you have a bunch of dials. You have a bunch of setup up here to put your buttonhole on, and then there's a little gadget in here that you have to push to make it work. And definitely have to get the instruction books out to work with this, because if I don't do it every couple months, I totally forget how to use it. So, but they're really fun to make, and nowadays these are so much easier. Before, you had big contraptions you had to put on it, and if you had to make sure you're going to do all the buttonholes for a month before when you put it on, because it took forever. But those are buttonholes. Then there is these other fun ones I just bought these. This is a Teflon foot, and this helps to go over like leathers and suedes, laminate fabrics like raincoat fabric, anything that's sticky. This helps it slide much easier than these ones. It's weird how it works. Then these are roller feet, helps go over thicker fabrics, maybe like velvets. Slippery velvets tend to really shift off, and it helps more even threading through the feed dogs and all the pressure in there. So it just kind of helps roll over fabrics. Helps with even the vinyls and stuff like that. So these two kind of are the same, but you'd have to play around with these. But these are only $5, so they're not expensive. You might have to get those online. I haven't seen them at the local fabric stores. Then there are these two contractions that came with my machine, and I've never used them. This one's actually a narrow hem foot that will do like real tiny 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch hems, and I don't really do those, so I just haven't used them. I should play around with them one day to do this, but I'm really good at the iron. I just press up 1/2 inch, tuck in another 1/4 inch, and sew it. I like to iron everything before I go and sew it. It just makes a lot more professional looks. This is a blind hemmer, and I have a blind hem machine, so I actually never used one of these. But a blind hem machine is like when you have a piece of, like you're sewing on a hem right here, like this, I have the hand stitched here, and then you want to get in, it's like you have to fold it a certain way, and then you have to use it on my machine number 4, and it does this like little reverse zigzag. It goes like that, and it just catches just a tiny part of the outer fabric right there, so that you wouldn't see it on the outside. I find it much faster and easier just to do a quick hand stitch. It's just get out the needle and try it. Because for these blind hemmers to work, your fabric has to be really on grain and kind of squared up and everything for it to work well. If it has any kind of curve in it, when you're curving fabrics, it doesn't quite work so good. So those are our basic presser feet. It pays to just kind of play around with them. You'll find them in your instruction books, like this one's mine. It shows the basic feet, or actually the optional accessories, and then it shows the basic feet and gives a idea how to use them. Like this one I wrote on here, like page 65, it shows out how to use the whole thing. So pays to look at your instructions. Okay, see you in the next SewBit.